right, coming up on this edition of Today's Verdict, a new experiment inside Manhattan's criminal courthouse is changing what happens after an arrest. Navigators are stepping in right after arraignment, offering food, clothing, even housing, thanks to a unique partnership aimed at preventing repeat crime. Could this courtroom program be the key to keeping people on track? And finally, ICE agents are returning to Rikers Island, but not everyone's on board. A new executive order from the Adams administration is opening the jail's doors to federal immigration agents, sparking backlash from city leaders and raising civil rights concerns. As you can see, we have much to get to, so stay tuned. Today's Verdict starts right now. All right, hello, welcome to Today's Verdict, the interactive show that gives you your legal rights and options. I'm your host and trial attorney, David Lesh. Well, Today's Verdict always encourages you to stay connected. Make sure to tweet me at David Lesh and hashtag Ask Today's Verdict if you have a question. And check us out at BronxNet.tv. Navigating the criminal justice system can be overwhelming, especially right after an arrest. But now a program in Manhattan is stepping in to offer immediate support at one of the most critical moments, right after arraignment. It's a unique partnership between the Manhattan District Attorney's Office and the Fortune Society, aimed at preventing crime by meeting people's urgent needs. Everything from food and clothing to housing and hope. Here to tell us more about this, we have in studio Randi Rothschild from the Fortune Society. Welcome, Randi.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I was just saying to you just off camera, everyone should have a court navigator help us navigate through the difficulties of the court system.
Agreed.
Tell us a little bit about you.
So I've been doing this work for over 20 years. I'm a licensed clinical social worker by training. And I started my career at a public defender's office in the Bronx, working with individuals. And then from there, did some work in government, Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, health and hospitals, doing work on correctional health services, which oversees the medical and mental health care on Rikers Island. And I've been at Fortune Society for the past 6 years, and I love it.
Well, tell us about the Fortune Society. What's their mission?
So we are a wraparound social service agency working to successfully help people reenter society after incarceration, promoting alternatives to incarceration. And we do this through 14 program areas that we have, everything from housing, which we'll talk about, benefits access, employment, education, family services, alternatives to incarceration, supervised release, peer recovery, outpatient mental health, outpatient substance use clinics, and
it's
then
almost
we have,
like almost like a surrogate guardian.
Yes.
For some of these individuals, they go through the process, they're scared.
Yep.
And then you're like, look, just here's a MetroCard, here's some money for some food for lunch. This is your appointment when you have to go speak to a mental health advisor. 'Cause they don't have anybody else.
Right. And the difference in what you just said is that we actually provide them the food.
Oh, you do?
So we give them the food, we give them the MetroCard, we have an agency van that can take people places, and we have 2 clinics in our Long Island City location, so people can come to us for really any of their needs.
Now, this is a partnership, this particular.
So this partnership, yes. So the District Attorney's Office put out RFP, and we were awarded. And so it's a partnership with them, which is really radical that this kind of initiative stemmed from a District Attorney's Office. And the idea...
Why? Why do you think? That's a good...
I think the idea is to provide voluntary services to individuals coming out of arraignments, as opposed to mandating those services, which is why it's a very unique thing that the District Attorney's Office is doing this. So people are coming out, and instead of being forced to go to programming in lieu of jail or prison, they're told voluntarily you can receive any sort of resources that you might need from the Fortune Society.
I can't imagine anyone's refusing this particular request.
No, I mean, but what's really incredible is that people are either released on their own recognizance or their cases are dismissed. Those are the people that we're going after. And they could just walk out of the courtroom because they might not ever have to come back again. But our navigators are individuals with lived experience of either the criminal legal system or homelessness or recovery, and they provide this rapid engagement and are able to build trust so quickly that they
Because who else do they have
engage.
sometimes?
Nobody
They don't
sometimes.
Have, sometimes they don't have parents. Sometimes their parents are incarcerated, or
Yep.
there's some issues, and sometimes they just want someone to talk to.
Right,
Someone just to
exactly.
listen to them.
Yep.
I find that with my clients as well. Just no one speaks to them during the day.
Right.
So I'll just talk to them a little bit about what's going on. That's all people want.
Right.
And they don't want to be forgotten in the system. Is it working? What's your thoughts on it?
It is. I mean, since August, we've served over 1,000 people. And so again, these are people that don't need to come talk to our navigators, and they choose to because our navigators say, I was just like you. I was in exactly the same place you were a few months ago, a few years ago. We even have 2 navigators that were former clients of ours that we hired as employees. So that trust that they're able to build is really crucial.
Walk me through it.
Yeah. So we have people that are coming out of arraignments. Our navigators come and talk to them. Sometimes they'll talk to the defense attorney or prosecution prior to see which of these clients do you think might be released on their recognizance or whose cases might be dismissed, so they can start the process. But as soon as the people walk out of arraignments, they walk over to them. They say, hey, are you hungry? I can get you a hot meal upstairs. I can get you clothing. I can get you a Metro card. Do you need to go home? I can drive you there. So just that, those basic needs. A person says, yeah, I haven't eaten all day. Or my clothing, I'm missing a shoe because I just got out of the precinct and I lost my shoe. And we bring them upstairs, and that's when the process starts.
I have a couple of cases where I've seen some horrible conditions in different jails, and they come out or they're waiting to be booked, and I couldn't even imagine, what you'd have to deal with just to kind of get yourself standing up again, and where you need to be. Any improvements that you would recommend?
The only improvement I would say is I hope that this could be replicated in other jurisdictions. I mean, it's a really radical idea to sort of shift the narrative from mandating people to services to voluntarily offering
Nobody likes
them
to be told what to do.
Exactly.
No, nobody likes to be told what to do.
Exactly. And these are individuals who have been cycling through the justice system for years and years and years. And what's going to make that difference? I don't think what's going to make that difference is saying, if you don't do this, you're going to jail or prison. I think what might make this difference is somebody who was exactly like them and can help them with the supports that they need.
I'm just thinking what you could add to it.
Yeah.
Money for tuition. I mean, I don't know. Like, there's got to be. Wouldn't that be nice if you could find something else to get like big brothers, big sisters? Really get them on their way.
Right. I mean, the only thing I would say is, we're so grateful for the funding that we've been able to get from the district attorney's office, but we could always use more funding to support the program, hire more navigators, provide more housing, provide more of all of the resources.
Tough question for you. Do you think that we're really moving into a more conservative area now in government, regardless of what your position is? Are programs like this going to be affected, do you think, in the next 3 years?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think this is a program that right now, this is city money, so it's not going to be affected by federal dollars that I know of. I don't think right now that this is the population that's going to be targeted.
Well, I hope not, but it's just, I think a lot of people aren't really sure. With certain social services.
Right.
What will be cut and what won't be cut.
Right. And we're already receiving notifications of some dollars being cut, not yet to something like this. So, but we're being open to what's coming down.
By the way, just throwing this out there, any crossover with ICE or immigration agents or anybody else showing up at arraignments, that type of thing?
We haven't experienced that. We've experienced that in some of our other court programs where ICE agents have come, but not specifically in this initiative.
Oh, that's important.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's look down the line now. Let's give it a couple of years and see how we do. What's the long-term goal here?
Yeah.
What would you say, what are you looking to achieve?
Yeah. So I think the long-term goal is to figure out what are the supports that people need to keep them from cycling back into the criminal legal system. So not so much as could it reduce recidivism or could it reduce rearrest, but this idea of desistance, this idea of what could help change, you know, a person's mindset and a person's behavior so that they can stay in their community and have the supports that they need.
And what do you think that is?
I think that's
The most,
stable
what's
housing.
the most important thing that you would say you give them?
Stable housing. Having someone that they can talk to, like we were saying before, have somebody to navigate them through these systems that they have for so long mistrusted based on who they are and what they've been through. Giving somebody a meal. I mean, it's these basic things. But I think two of the most important things would be having a navigator, someone with lived experience, and then stable housing. It's crucial.
Does the navigator stay with them? In other words,
Yep.
like a person who's assigned to
Yep.
them and manages them and
Yep.
calls them up and says, how was your day?
Yep. A person, the navigator stays with them for as long as the person wants. And we at Fortune do lifetime aftercare. So even when a person has ended their sort of program time with a certain program, they can continue to come back to Fortune and get any services that they might need. Some of them do. We have people that come to our Long Island City office 20 years after being disconnected from Fortune and come and get a meal.
I wonder when you discuss the program with them, if they tell you that what they like the best about it. Is it the Metro card?
Yeah.
Is it the housing? What makes them feel like they're somebody cares?
I mean, I think each person is different, but as an example, we had somebody that was recently arrested for sale of a controlled substance, and he was homeless, needed a place to stay. He didn't have shoelaces on his shoes and was starving. So our navigators brought him upstairs to our office, gave him 3 meals, 3 sandwiches, put shoelaces on his shoes, and got him into our housing and escorted him there. So for somebody like that, that's what that person needed at that moment.
That's a nice story.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you're working on that you think you want us to know about?
I mean, we have so many initiatives that we're working on. We're doing a violence prevention program right now in the South Bronx with DYCD and United Way of New York. We are constantly looking for funding to support our food and nutrition programs.
Funding. How do you get it?
So anybody watching this could feel free to donate to the Fortune Society.
Absolutely.
Either a one-time or recurring donation. We also love when people volunteer with us. So we have people who have been retired who come and volunteer in our employment services program.
Tell my father to do that.
Yes. Do interview skills,
Get
resume
busy.
writing. Yes, exactly.
So anyway, it's a pleasure. You're going to maybe come back? We can
I would
discuss
love
the
to.
future of
Yes.
Fortune Society?
Yes, that would be great. Thank you for having me.
That's my pleasure. All right. Don't go anywhere because we'll be right back right after this.
We're going to start the show right now. This is my favorite part. Ready in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, this is Angel, and I am one of the instructors for the in-studio production. Here at BronxNet, we offer classes that can help you elevate, expand, and start your television career. All you have to do is sign up at bronxnet.org/education. For the past 7 years, I have been in various productions, spanning from talk shows, independent films, news reports, art displays, teachings, musical performances, and many more. Ain't that right, Angel? Yeah, you're absolutely right, Angel. There are a lot of creative individuals that we're just waiting to sign up for the class. And if I may, can I also express thank you, Angel. That's all the time we have left. Visit bronxnet.org/education and become a producer by taking the course. The class I offer is also in English, en español y también bilingüe. Nos vemos en la próxima clase.
All right, under a new executive order from the Adams administration, federal immigration officials will now assist with criminal investigations inside Rikers Island. City Hall insists the directive is about public safety and staying within sanctuary city laws, but critics, including top city officials, say it could open the door to civil rights violations and undermine long-standing protections for immigrants. To talk more about this, we have Councilmember Avilés from District 38. Alexa, thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the invitation.
I know you're busy. You got a lot going on. What's the current state of the sanctuary laws in New York? Do we have them? Do they exist? Where are we?
Our compendium of laws that we refer to as sanctuary laws are very much intact. They have not changed despite efforts to both confuse not only city agencies but the public, but they remain very much intact. So we've worked hard to protect them. And they have a 40-year history in our city and a very serious legacy that's important for our communities and for New York City.
Well, but has it been eroded?
So I think there have been attempts by certainly the mayor to create a lot of confusion about what they mean. And certainly he has said many times, not only erroneously, not only did he not understand the law, but he was essentially lying to the public about what they do and do not do. And threatening that these laws were, creating unsafe conditions, which is entirely a lie, quite frankly. So the laws do exist, and the laws essentially say that we do not allow civil immigration enforcement. We do not allow city resources to be used for for civil immigration enforcement. Not with city dollars, on city property. None of that can happen. And those laws, what was really critical about these laws and why we've had them for 40 years is because our city understood that not building trust with immigrant communities and civil institutions came at a very high cost. It came at the cost of people not being able to report crimes, not being able to report terrible conditions or labor violations or getting help for domestic violence situations. These laws were in fact advocated by law enforcement who felt that sanctuary policies helped to build trust between city government and communities, and they were very, very important.
Why do you think it's swinging backwards now a little bit to not as many rights for immigrants in our city? Is it just a conservative movement through, the Trump administration, through Adams administration? Where's it coming from?
I think it's a compounding, right? So you have this really kind of violent rhetoric from the federal government, right? That is untrue, right? That is constantly the invasion of people and all this really awful rhetoric. You also had Eric Adams also doing the similar thing, saying, immigrants, this will destroy us. We're wasting all our money. Like at the same time, so I feel like when you have so much rhetoric that is negative and wholly untrue, and elected officials making untrue statements about the law and the protections, creates a lot of confusion and anxiety in the general public, and it's wholly irresponsible. And that's what we've been pushing back against, to not only clearly articulate what the laws are, but to really help people understand this insanity that they're actually witnessing from these leaders.
I understand that the deportations are taking many of these individuals back to some serious prisons. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so what we've seen recently is this incredibly egregious situation where the government just rounded up young men that may have had tattoos that looked like they were gang affiliated or like some really insane circumstances, and put them on a plane and sent them to what is now known as notorious prisons in El Salvador. which actually over the past couple of years have been gaining more and more traction around abuses, human rights abuses that are occurring inside the facilities. But the private prisons that are in the southern part of the country that really operate on the profit of detention of not only U.S. citizens but also immigrants. Those conditions have been noted to be pretty deplorable. I feel like we should remember many of the images of children, hundreds of children in cages, hundreds of people in what is called hieleras, which are freezers, people freezing and sitting with those little like metallic, what do you call them? Those little metallic insulators like you get after you run the marathon. So, but deplorable conditions, bad food, really not places to be when you have not committed a crime, and you should not be treated as a violent criminal.
We talk about these prisons as profit prisons. Is that the motivation sometimes? Is that possibly why this whole thing has been ramping up now? Is there a lobby that's pushing this somewhere in Albany or somewhere?
100%, 100%. I guess I want to correct something that I just said because I think it's important. I think all people, whether you have committed a crime or have been found guilty of a crime, deserve human rights and dignity. So these conditions in the prisons should not exist. In terms of your next question, yes, it is a proven fact that for-profit prisons are driven by the incentive to make profit. And they are particularly excited, as they have been in previous administrations, when we have leadership that really enjoys incarcerating people. And you see the kind of expansion of what is sometimes referred to as the prison industrial complex. Everybody in that facility generates profit for a private company. And that is part of the motivating factor here. We see this detention, this mass deportation machine is sweeping up people without criminal convictions. That's always been the case.
Yeah, they're picking them up for traffic violations and traffic infractions. I've been reading it in the paper.
Absolutely. And so if they are in that facility, that private prison is making money off of that individual. So this is very much driven by profit and clear hatred from the federal government, who just wants to rid themselves of people who are here.
Where I don't know if you could really answer this question, but where are the not the safest places to be, but where can you expect to have some sanctuary? A courthouse, a church? Like where can you go out, at least leave your house and know that you're going to be safe for the day? What are your thoughts on that? Is there anywhere?
Sadly, I mean, we're trying to hold on to that feeling in New York City. With these laws, with our advocacy, with New Yorkers who really believe in these laws and the safety of all people. Unfortunately, this federal government, there is nothing that they don't like to follow laws. They don't like to follow the Constitution. They don't care about the safety and wellness of working class New Yorkers or working class anyone in this country. Unfortunately, there are not many safe spaces. Your greatest rights that you have are actually in your home, which is why the Know Your Rights is so important for people to know. But when you're on the streets, in public spaces, unfortunately, you're not safe, but the community can help to make each other safe by creating an ecosystem of support when in fact they do see ICE, that they protect each other. And that can look a lot of different ways.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, Les, what else are you working on? Anything else interesting going up there in Albany?
Well, in City Hall, there's always a million things happening. We're obviously fighting to protect New Yorkers. We are in the middle of budget season as well, where we're fighting for people's budget to make sure that the city is making the proper investments in the health and safety of New Yorkers and not continuing to cut, which this administration has done for the past 4 years. So there's a lot at stake, and a lot of work that's being done, really, again, in very proactive and protective measures for New Yorkers that we're in the middle of.
It's
So
a scary time
it
for
is a scary time.
everybody. It's not
It,
just New York. It's the country. It's just no one really knows where we're heading right now,
that's right.
and it's not a good feeling.
There is a ton of uncertainty and there is a lot of risk. And unfortunately, this is why we are so disturbed by the mayor's actions of, of being beholden to this federal government who does not care about New York and its health and well being of its citizens. We need leadership that is united in protecting and strengthening New York City, not that is beholden to a bigoted federal government who is, quite frankly, destroying our democratic institutions.
I know you can't really know for sure, obviously. What are his chances, Mayor Adams? You think he's going to be reelected? What are your thoughts?
I don't think so. I hope not. I hope we have a proof. We have proof of what this leadership has resulted in. A lot of rhetoric, hollow rhetoric at that, where I believe in public education while I'm cutting profoundly education budgets. You know, I believe in mental health while defunding mental health beds that we need so much. So I think New Yorkers see through that. They're pretty savvy, and I think they're actually quite tired. And we deserve leadership that does not have a trail of corruption behind them, that does not have a federal government that is, quite frankly, threatening on Fox News. I mean, Tom Homan told Eric Adams to his face, if you don't do what we say, we're going to be all up your butt. Like, we do not want that kind of leadership, and
No.
we do not deserve that leadership in New York City.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us. I know you got a busy day. Alexa, maybe you can come back and we can have a little discussion about some of the other things you're working on.
Great. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. All right, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank our guests for joining us and, of course, you, the viewers, for watching. If you missed any part of today's show, be sure to check it out on YouTube. Also, remember, if there is a legal issue or topic you'd like to see in a future edition of Today's Verdict, feel free to contact me at davidlesh@bronxnet.org or tweet me at davidlesh and make sure to hashtag #AskToday'sVerdict. For myself and all of us at Today's Verdict, always remember, know your rights, know your issues, reach a verdict. I'm David Lesh, and we will see you again in 2 weeks with an all-new episode of Today's Verdict right here on BronxNet. You take care.